All right, enough of the lectures. Let's actually give you a little bit of an assignment. Now that you've had some chances to play around with the container commands in Docker, I'd like to give you a little bit of homework to start up multiple containers, and we're going to go through some of the process of what it's like to set up multiple types of images in different containers at the same time. You're going to maybe need some documentation with this, so you know about the --help command. So with that in mind, there's also docs.docker.com. Now, if you haven't been there, definitely take a few minutes to check it out and just click around. Even if it's not something you need to look at right away, just get an idea for the breadth of documentation there. The actual website is totally open source, and you can actually use GitHub to add documentation or recommend changes. But it's rare that there's a day that goes by that I don't go to that website. It's a constant amount of new information there, and I highly recommend you check it out. Most of the time when I'm actually searching Google, it ends up being one of the 2 or 3 top choices anyway. So you're going to start up a 3 container application. And we're not actually going to set up these 3 different containers with application data or our source files, but I just want you to get the ideas around how to start these and how they're different and managing them together. You definitely want to use the -d for detached, and then I recommend you always use --name. That's just easier to deal with when you're working on your local machine. You can name them whenever you'd like. And I need you to give each one of them their own port, because each container can't run on the same port as other containers if you're exposing them at the host, right? So if we're going to allow the host to listen for each container and forward traffic, they all need to run on different ports. So the Nginx is going to act as our proxy in this case, and it's just going to send on port 80. The Apache server, or HTTPD, is going to run on 8080, and then the MySQL server is running on its default port of 3306. So again, these actually aren't going to be 3 containers that talk to each other in any way right yet, but we're just going to start them up and then tear them all down again. So something that you haven't yet experienced is one of the options for the container run command is an environment variable passing. So -e or --environment will pass any environment variable you want to pass into that container. And this is a very common way for us to pass environment-based settings into our containers. So it's quite often to have different environment variables for test or dev versus production, and the environment option is how we do that. So with the MySQL image you'll be using, it actually has an option for setting a random root password on boot up, and the way that you find that password is actually going to be using the logs command to see it start up the first time, and it will spit out to the logs what that random password is going to be. And once you've started up all the containers and you think it's correct, you can tear it all down again with the stop and the rm commands. And I'd like you to use the ls command to make sure that you have them all started and that they're all cleaned up. You might need to use the ls-a to actually make sure that you've removed all of them. And I'm going to leave a video after this that actually shows how I would do it in case you get stuck. Good luck, and we'll see you on the next section. Okay, this lecture is the answers to the assignment lecture right before this one for managing multiple containers. So this is basically just a recording of me thinking out loud and walking through the assignment. You might have slightly different commands, and that's okay as long as you got to the end result of the 3 different containers running the 3 different images with the required parameters. So here we go. Let's see, I'll probably want to run the MySQL one first. MySQL, but I'm going to need to detach it and then open up port 306, and then I'm going to give it a name called DB, and then I'm also going to throw in this environment variable. And let's see, that should do it. Oh, I have too many dashes on the E. Okay, now I should be able to do Docker container log MySQL. No, sorry, DB. logs, not log. Okay, so let's see, I'm not sure. I don't see it yet. I don't see the password. It's pretty obvious. Let me try it again. There we go. Generated root password right there. Okay, I'm going to copy that for later. I don't actually need it for this assignment, but that's how I would get the password if I needed to log into that MySQL server. All right, so we're going to run the next one. Docker container run detached name web server. And then port, this is going to be the Apache one. So port 8080 on my host is going to go to 80 in my container. And then HTTPD. Okay, and if I do a Docker PS, both of those should be running. Yep, and I can see on the right that their proper ports are redirecting from my host into my container. That's what that little arrow means. And then let's see, one more, Docker container run, give it a name of proxy. And I'm going to have that listen on port 80 and forward to port 80. And it's detached and proper name. Okay, I think that one's good. Docker PS. You'll notice, by the way, that I'm typing Docker PS, not Docker container ls, just because old habits die hard and the old command is Docker PS, but it still works. All right, I think all three are running. All the ports are forwarding. Properly name them. And I'm actually going to test their ports. So if I do curl localhost, it should give me back the Nginx. Yeah, if I curl, let's see, localhost 8080, I should get back the Apache. All right, those are open. All right, so now I need to clean them up. So I'm going to do Docker container stop. Oh, that's right. I didn't name them that. That's silly. So I'm just going to use tab to give me tab completion. So I can do this one, and then this one, and then that one. Okay. All three are stopped. Docker ps-a. Yep, all three of them. I could have also done Docker container ls-a. Same thing. So now I need to remove them. So I'm going to do a Docker container rm. I'm going to use tab completion again and remove them. Docker ps-a, nothing there. Docker images, this is a new command actually, image ls. That shows me the 3 different images. They're still there. Okay, everything's cleaned up, and that's my assignment.